It's called Letters from Home, a wake-up call for success and wealth. It's a series of letters. It's 10 letters that we wrote to the boys on different virtues and values that are basic American virtues that have sort of disappeared from the landscape in our country, but that we think are important in instilling in the next generation.
People want things now. They don't understand there's a process in waiting, and slowly but surely the American dream is disappearing, and it's sad. And so we want our children to have the ability to live that dream. So we thought to ourselves, what can we do to impart the values that we firmly believe in, that made America, that we teach our kids every day?
Hey dudes, one of the earliest learning opportunities you get in life is figuring out how to navigate through disappointment, adversity, and failure. Among the first challenges you encounter is mastering the skill of walking, literally putting one foot in front of the other. In most cases, it takes a number of unsuccessful attempts that land you on your diapered bottom before you can manage to let go and take one precarious step, which leads to a bunch of wobbly steps in a row, which leads to walking confidently, which leads to racing around like a pro. Without the tools to be resilient, you'd be sitting on the floor, the whole world passing you by.
So we wrote letters to our boys on each of these virtues, on why they're important.
We tried to make them fun, funny, interesting for our boys and also for other people of all ages to sort of eavesdrop.
And then we wrote about real life people in their lives who touch them, who are role models.
Who personify each of those virtues or values that we've discussed in the letters.
Our kids can take this up and they know that this is the way we want them to live. This is what we teach them. So all of these things put together really create what we consider a good human being. I came from Swansea, Massachusetts, primarily a farming community. My dad owned a restaurant, and at night he went to school. But I grew up in the restaurant business and on farms, and we were poor. I mean, my father owned a restaurant business when people didn't want to go out to eat. He grew up in a poor rural community. My dad worked 7 days a week in the restaurant business, and he worked very, very hard. And I learned from an early age that hard work and education are your way out. And that's just the way I've always done things. I did my homework on the bus so that when I got home, I could do my job and work and earn some money and always have something in my pocket. And I've taught my children that God opens doors only once in a while sometimes. And you have to be aware. And you have to look at the world around you. And just because you have a lot of money doesn't make you better than anybody else. So we're all in this world together, but what I expect is only just what I've done. You work really hard, you're honest, you're a good human being, and you'll be successful no matter what you do in life. And that's what I try to teach my children.
When my mom was 61, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She had missed one mammogram. She was religious about having mammograms. She canceled an appointment because she was taking care of her own mother. And she just got busy and forgot to reschedule it. And she found a lump, and by the time she was diagnosed, she was very advanced stage of breast cancer. She was treated what we thought was successfully, and then about 6 months after she finished treatment, she started getting terrible headaches, and she found that it had metastasized to the brain. And from that day on, we took every single day as a gift with her. She was 62, and she died 10 days after her 63rd birthday. While she was ill, she found that she had the breast cancer gene, the BRCA1 genetic mutation, which increases your risk of breast cancer up to 80+%. So when she was diagnosed, it was recommended that my sister and I be tested as well. My sister and I both carry the gene mutation as well. Right after my mother died, within a few months, my sister, who's a little younger than I am, was diagnosed with, thankfully, a microscopic breast cancer and was treated successfully. And I had been on an upgraded protocol, and I said, if my next mammogram comes back clean, I'm going to have a prophylactic mastectomy. I'll choose to remove the breast tissue, which reduces the risk, obviously, of breast cancer. So that's exactly what I did. I valued living my life with a lot more ease than being terrified. I didn't want to look back and have regrets about not having really taken a dramatic step. So I remember waking up in the hospital, and I, from that moment on, said, I did this, I can do anything. I've got courage now to make some changes and look at our life and say, what is it that we ultimately want out of life? The story that I'll share is that the week before the surgery, we were invited to a fundraiser in New York City at a hospital. And we got invitations like this periodically, and I would look at it and say, oh, wouldn't that be neat to be able to go? And I would throw them away. The week after the surgery, I was reading the New Yorker and the beginning, the About Town section, and I was reading some of the things that were happening, and I said, we can do this. That's what would really be so amazing to be able to do, to just get in the car and be in New York City and take advantage of the culture and the culinary aspects of it and just be part of that energy. And we were lucky enough that David's job allowed us to move almost anywhere. So we put the boys in the back of the car, and 10 days after my surgery, we just got on the highway and drove and explored. And 3 months later, we were living in our new community, and we've never looked back. And so every time we go in and we go to some of these fundraisers and attend performances, we just sort of nudge each other and go, we did this, we did this. Dear boys, the road to success is a bumpy one, and misfortune, rejection, and criticism are all part of normal everyday life. Knowing how to handle adverse situations adeptly is a significant key to success. I think the philosophy of the book and the virtues that are in the book really begin at home. Teaching kids some of the characteristics that successful people have and being an example for kids, that's really comes right out of parenting and the family and the home.
Grab it with this so you don't burn yourself, okay?
There's so many things to distract from raising a family. I think it's so important to make time for the children.
There's only one thing that you have control over, and that's yourself and your family. That's what you have control over. So the country's built on nothing more than one person, one family.
Who's happy?
I'm happy. I'm happy. It's my favorite.
And then you form a community. So if you can't fix your family, you can't fix your neighborhood, you can't fix your community, you can't fix your country. So we need to come back to the basic values that built the American family.
You know, I'm not a famous face or have a famous name, but it's a recipe. These are the ingredients that we've pulled into our recipe for raising these boys and having a fulfilled, happy family.
And so if you want to listen in on the book that we wrote for our 4 boys, and you can take something from it, that's terrific.